everybody is coming. I'm so happy. My character is badass, but now dance to the ball.
Imagine waking up one day and seeing headlines screaming that one of the greatest martial arts stars alive is locked away in prison for the rest of his life. No appeals. No second chances. Just gone from the world he dominated for decades. Now imagine that the person those headlines are talking about is Tony Jaa, the man who made the entire world fall in love with Muay Thai, the man who flipped over elephants, ran across rooftops, and performed stunts so dangerous that Hollywood itself could barely believe what it was watching. That is exactly the kind of headline that has been circulating across social media platforms, forums, and video comment sections for quite some time now. And if you stumbled upon those claims and felt your jaw drop, you are absolutely not alone. Millions of fans around the world had the same reaction. So today, we are going to dig deep into this story, pull apart every layer, find out where this wild rumor came from, what Tony Jaa has actually been through in real life, and where this living legend stands today. Because trust me, the truth is far more fascinating than any rumor. Tony Jaa did not just become a martial arts star. He became a phenomenon. Born Panam Yeram on February 5, 1976, in the Surin province of Thailand, he grew up in a rural village where his father worked as an elephant mahout. From the very beginning, his life was rooted in Thai culture, discipline, and a deep connection to traditions that most of the modern world had never seen on a cinema screen. As a young boy, he was obsessed with martial arts films. He watched Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee movies on an old television screen and immediately decided that one day, he would do what they did, except he would do it his way, using the ancient art of Muay Thai and a discipline called Krabi Krabong, a traditional Thai weapons martial art that very few people in the world even knew existed at the time. He began training seriously as a teenager under the guidance of stunt choreographer and filmmaker Pana Ritikrai, who recognized almost immediately that this young man from Surin had something truly special. The combination of natural athleticism, iron discipline, and a fearless approach to physical performance set Tony apart from everyone around him. He was not just learning how to fight for the camera. He was becoming something else entirely, a performer who blurred the line between athlete and artist in a way that cinema had rarely seen before. His years of training were grueling, relentless, and deeply demanding. But every broken barrier, every perfected technique, every hour spent in practice was building towards something that would eventually shake the entire world of action cinema to its core. That moment arrived in 2003 when Ong-Bak, Muay Thai warrior, hit screens across Thailand and then exploded onto the international stage. The film was unlike anything audiences had ever seen. There were no wires. There were no computer-generated effects. There was no trickery or camera manipulation hiding the fact that a human being was performing acts of physical excellence that defied what most people believed the human body was capable of. Tony Jaa ran up walls, launched himself through rings of barbed wire, slid beneath moving vehicles, and delivered strikes with a speed and precision that left audiences completely speechless. The film became a global sensation, and overnight, Tony Jaa became one of the most talked-about action stars on the planet. Critics called him the next Bruce Lee. Directors from Hollywood, Hong Kong, and across Asia began reaching out, wanting to collaborate, wanting to bring this incredible talent into their projects. It seemed like nothing could stop him. But here is where the story starts to take a much darker and more complicated turn, because behind all that glory and all that global recognition, Tony Jaa was trapped. And the cage he was trapped in was not made of steel bars. It was made of legal language, contract clauses, and the cold machinery of the entertainment industry. Back in 2003, when his career was just beginning to launch, he had signed a long-term contract with Sahamunkel Film International, the Thai production company that had backed Ong-Bak and helped turn him into a star. On the surface, this seemed like a logical and even necessary arrangement. He needed resources, infrastructure, and support to build his career, and the studio provided all of that. But the terms of that contract were, by most accounts, extraordinarily restrictive. He was being paid a salary that many described as embarrassingly low for someone whose films were generating massive revenues both inside Thailand and around the world. His freedom to accept outside projects was severely limited. Every offer that came in from international studios had to go through Sahamunkel, and time and again, those offers were blocked. Hollywood wanted Tony Jaa. Hong Kong wanted Tony Jaa. Chinese cinema wanted Tony Jaa. But the studio held the keys, and they were not opening the door. 4 years, Tony endured this arrangement, but as his global profile continued to rise while his professional freedom remained suffocated, the frustration began to build into something that could not be contained forever. The situation came to a head in a dramatic and very public way when Sahamunkel claimed that his original contract had been renewed for another decade without his direct consent. The renewal notice had allegedly been sent not to Tony himself but to a family member in his home province, and that family member had signed on his behalf. Tony and his legal team rejected this arrangement entirely, arguing that the renewal was invalid and that he had every right to pursue his career independently. What followed was one of the messiest and most publicized legal battles in Thai entertainment history. The dispute was no longer just about money or creative control. It had become a fundamental argument about human dignity and professional freedom, with Tony himself using the phrase business slavery to describe what he felt he had been subjected to. The legal war reached its most dramatic point when Tony accepted a role in Furious 7, the seventh installment in the Fast and Furious franchise. For any action star, landing a role in one of Hollywood's biggest franchises would represent a dream come true, and for Tony, it felt like the breakthrough he had been fighting for. But Sahamunkel was furious. They held press conferences condemning his decision, and then they filed a lawsuit against Tony, Universal Pictures, and United International Pictures for an amount that reportedly exceeded $40 million. They argued that Tony had violated the terms of his contract by accepting the role and that they were owed compensation for the years they had invested in building his career. The lawsuit sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry and put multiple projects that Tony was involved in at serious risk. At one point, there were even court proceedings aimed at blocking Furious 7 from being released in Thailand entirely, an almost unbelievable situation given that the film was a massive global blockbuster. But even before all of this legal chaos unfolded, Tony had already been through one of the most personally and professionally devastating experiences of his life. After the success of Ong-Bak and its follow-up, The Protector, he made the bold decision to step behind the camera and direct Ong-Bak 2. It was an ambitious, deeply personal project, a chance to prove himself not just as a performer but as a filmmaker with vision and creative authority. The scale of the production was enormous, and the pressure it placed on Tony was enormous too. He was simultaneously directing, starring, performing his own stunts, choreographing the action sequences, and running his own production company. He poured everything he had into the project, and when the budget began spiraling far beyond what had been planned, he did something that speaks volumes about his dedication and his desperation. He reached into his own pocket and personally financed portions of the production. The financial strain became catastrophic. Reports emerged that he had drained his personal savings, could no longer pay his mortgage, and had even lost electricity at his home. Then, in June of 2008, Tony Jaa simply vanished from the set. No warning. No announcement. He was there one day and gone the next. His phone went unanswered. His mentor Panna Ritikrai reportedly searched for him in remote monasteries and meditation caves, genuinely unsure whether something terrible had happened. The production descended into chaos, and the entertainment world was left completely bewildered. When he was finally located by a Thai journalist, he was found in what was described as a safe house, exhausted and visibly broken by everything he had been through. The experience had pushed him to his absolute limits, and the film he had poured his soul into was ultimately taken out of his hands, completed by other people, and split into two separate movies in a way that he had never intended. In May of 2010, Tony Jaa made a decision that surprised almost everyone who had been following his career. He left the entertainment industry and entered a Buddhist monastery, becoming a monk. In Thailand, this is a tradition that carries deep cultural and spiritual significance, and for Tony, it clearly represented something he desperately needed, a period of quiet, reflection, and healing after years of relentless pressure, financial ruin, contractual imprisonment, and public scrutiny. He stayed in the monastery for a period before eventually returning to the world and to his career, but the journey back was not immediate or easy. Now, with all of that real and genuinely dramatic history laid out, we arrive at the rumor that prompted this entire conversation. The claim that Tony Jaa has been sentenced to life imprisonment. And here is the truth, stated plainly and without any ambiguity whatsoever. Tony Jaa has never been sentenced to prison. He has never served any prison time. He is not behind bars. He has not been convicted of any crime. The rumor is entirely and completely false. So where did it come from? Like many celebrity rumors that spread wildly in the age of social media, this one appears to have started with a fundamental confusion between fiction and reality. In 2015, Tony Jaa appeared in a film called SPL2, A Time for Consequences, also known as Kill Zone 2, a Hong Kong action film in which he played a prison guard. The movie's storyline involves an undercover police officer who is framed, arrested under a false identity, and thrown into a brutal Thai prison. It is a gripping, intense, emotionally powerful film, and Tony's performance in it was widely praised. But somewhere along the line, people began confusing the story of the character in the film with the real life of the actor playing it. That confusion, amplified by social media sharing and sensational clickbait content, grew into the absurd claim that Tony Jaa himself had been sentenced to life in prison. The other fuel that fed this rumor was his periodic withdrawals from public life. His time as a Buddhist monk, his years spent tangled in legal disputes that kept him from making public appearances or promoting his work, and his general tendency toward privacy all contributed to an information vacuum that the internet happily filled with speculation and misinformation. When a major celebrity goes quiet for a while, the rumor mill never stays quiet with them. And in Tony's case, the combination of a dramatically intense on-screen story about prison and his own real-life periods of near invisibility created the perfect conditions for a completely baseless story to take on a life of its own. If you look for any credible reporting on a criminal conviction or prison sentence involving Tony Jaa, you will find absolutely nothing. Not one verified news outlet. Not one official statement from any legal authority. Not one piece of documentation of any kind. What you will find instead is a man who is very much alive, very much free, and very much still working at the top of his profession. His social media accounts are active and regularly updated, showing a man who is engaged with his fans, connected to his family, and enthusiastic about his ongoing career. He has been married to Piyarat Choti Watananant since 2012, and the couple have daughters together. By all visible measures, his personal life is grounded, warm, and genuinely happy. His professional life tells an equally active story. In 2020, he appeared alongside Milla Jovovich in Monster Hunter, a major Hollywood production based on the popular video game franchise. In 2021, he appeared in Detective Chinatown 3, one of the highest-grossing Chinese films ever made, playing a character called Jack Jaa. In 2023, he joined the star-studded cast of The Expendables 4, appearing alongside Sylvester Stallone and Jason Statham, which is about as clear a sign as any that he remains a highly valued and sought-after presence in international action cinema. He also appeared in Striking Rescue, a Chinese martial arts production in which he played the lead role of Ong-Bak, a Muay Thai master on a deeply personal mission of revenge and justice. The film was significant because it represented his return to a full leading man role after years spent in supporting capacities, and it reminded audiences everywhere why they fell in love with him in the first place. Looking ahead, Tony Jaa has arguably the most exciting chapter of his career still in front of him. He is currently attached to a major Muay Thai trilogy project that is being developed with substantial backing from international production partners including Stars Collective and Thailand's Film Odyssey Company Limited. What makes this project particularly meaningful is that Tony is not simply starring in it as an actor for hire. He is serving as an executive producer, meaning he has genuine creative authority over how the story is told and how the project is shaped. The trilogy will see him playing a character named Surya, a gifted young fighter who travels back in time to the ancient Ayutthaya period of Thai history, blending spectacular martial arts action with rich historical mythology in a way that could introduce a whole new generation of audiences to the world of Muay Thai and to the storytelling traditions of Thai cinema. It is a project that feels deeply personal, culturally significant, and creatively ambitious in all the right ways. What Tony Jaa's full story ultimately reveals is something much more important than any single rumor or false headline. It reveals the portrait of a human being who has faced extraordinary obstacles, not the dramatic fictional kind that play out on cinema screens, but the genuinely painful, grinding, real-world kind that involve broken contracts, financial collapse, creative betrayal, personal exhaustion, and the kind of quiet suffering that fame does absolutely nothing to protect you from. He fought an entertainment system that tried to turn his talent into a commodity it could own and control indefinitely. He survived financial ruin that left him unable to pay basic bills despite being an internationally celebrated star. He endured a public breakdown, a spiritual retreat, and a long climb back to relevance in an industry that moves fast and forgets faster.